Welcome to Trust Tuesdays. Dave Morris here in the Oklahoman video studio. It is tax season, and we're going to learn more about some scams and some things you should know about with our friends at the Better Business Bureau. It's Kitt Letcher. How are you?
Hi, good morning. Great.
Well, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
As always, she is the president and CEO of the Better Business Bureau of Central Oklahoma, and uniquely qualified for this conversation, I'll say. It's always a fun conversation with Kitt. Let me back up just a second, though. We record Trust Tuesdays with you monthly. After we recorded last month's segment, a phone scam came out, and before I had actually heard of that phone scam, someone called my mobile, and they're fumbling around, and they're like, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Ha ha!" And I'm like, "This is Dave," but I never said yes, and as it turns out, that's what they're wanting you to say was yes or no. I had never heard of a scam like that, to where they're actually recording your responses, and then perhaps could use it to, yes, you did say yes to this fabulous trip, and now you owe XYZ, but that is an example of some of the scams you guys deal with.
It is, and actually for that particular scam, we saw a huge influx on Scam Tracker, which is where we intake all of the scams reported in our area and across the entire United States. And that particular scam was really interesting because there were so many different variations of it. So the person that talked to you was fumbling for their phone, trying to get you to say yes. Other people have received phone calls where the person said, "Hey, this is so-and-so. Just want to make sure I'm talking to Dave. How are you doing today?" They try and get you to give them a little bit more information up front. So maybe you confirm your name, address, email address, certain things like that. They might sound like they're from a company that you regularly deal with. And then they start asking you yes and no questions to get all of that information. So yes, maybe you want a free trip that now you're getting billed $6,000 for, and somehow they got your credit card information. And so they've been able to tack on a lot more to that particular
scam.
scam.
It's so sneaky that clearly it's kind of clever in a bad way of how they've thought this through, or someone has thought it through. It's also annoying when I think, hey, they could easily call my mom and she'd be like, "What? Yes, you know."
Right, because who doesn't do that?
Right.
We do it all the time. When I call my mom and I talk to her and I'm going in a certain area and I know I'm going to drop a call, and I ask her all the time, "Can you hear me?" And I mean, it's just such a regular thing.
Oh, that is so annoying that people are that sinister and have the time to be that sinister.
And that they make money off of it. That's what's really frustrating. They make millions and millions of dollars off of scams like that. So it just perpetuates them thinking of new ways to really take advantage of people that are answering their phone. Yeah.
Fortunately, I have people like you and Sean Rose, who's sitting over there tweeting right now. He's like, "Oh, I got called out
every
again."
time.
Who are raising awareness
Sitting here, minding my own business.
of perhaps some scams and things that people should be aware of. Which brings us to tax season. Have you done your taxes?
I have.
You have?
Yes.
Good job.
Yeah.
Sean,
we
have you
are
done your
early
taxes?
tax doers.
Oh, look at you guys showing off. So have I, which means I've given it to my tax guy to do.
Well, I hope you found a good guy. Somebody that you trust, you've used for a while?
I have, yes.
Okay.
A friend recommended it, and perhaps that's something you guys recommend is word of mouth and people who you're familiar with. But yes, he does a fantastic job and has done it for the past half dozen years or so. However, if you are looking for a tax person or perhaps some resources, the Better Business Bureau has a website full of such resources at bbb.org/Oklahoma City/tax.
Yeah.
What is on the Tax Resource Center?
You know, it's all sorts of stuff. It's things as a business owner that you should look for, maybe deductions, things that you can itemize whenever you're preparing your taxes. So good content about that, but also things to stay away from. Myths about taxes that people may or may not know.
Which can be found by a unicorn icon
mythological
on the page.
creatures are used on our page.
It's well done. Anyway, there's myths that you...
There's myths, but there's also scams and information about tax or identity theft. And those are the biggest areas that we really see people being taken advantage of whenever, like the Say Yes scam is one, but also when people get a phone call from the IRS and they say, "You haven't paid your taxes, we're going to foreclose on your house, you pay right now, or we're sending a sheriff's officer over to your house to arrest you."
It sounds legit, but that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Don't believe them. And please don't give them credit card information over the phone. The IRS sends letters, and they typically don't call people. So
that's the scary thing. You sort of know, okay, I shouldn't give out my bank account, my routing number, my social security number. But yet when you hear the yes or no stuff, you're like, wow, it is amazing just how quick it can get away from you.
It does. And you know, the thing is, people really I mean, they want to pay their taxes. They want to do the right thing. They're not trying to get into trouble. And so when they hear that perhaps they've stepped on the wrong side of something, it's scary because you never want to be on the wrong side of the IRS.
Nope.
And nobody wants to be audited or have a second look taken at them. So they're really trying to do the right thing. And whenever they get into those conversations, the person on the other end is very convincing.
Yeah.
And they're very threatening. And if you are perhaps somebody who has filed your taxes and you can't remember if you did because you've turned it into your tax guy and he said, yeah, I turned it all in, you're great, but maybe you don't remember seeing the receipt, or I don't know. All of those things play a factor in that person being able to say, you know what, I don't have your money and you owe us this much money and it's due today.
People like me who don't necessarily deal with a ton of paperwork or finances all the time, it's like, okay, what other form do I need here? I think I gave him 5 or 6 forms. You don't really know, so it can be very confusing and overwhelming.
And you know, what's interesting about a lot of the scams that we see, we typically think that our older population is their most vulnerable.
Is that the case?
That's not the case,
Okay.
which is really interesting because that's what most people think. However, what we have found through a number of studies is that our younger generation is much more vulnerable to scams, especially like this one, where they think they have done all the research, they know everything about it, you can't take advantage of me, I know what I know, I'm impervious to these kinds of things. And so they don't ask enough questions.
Right. They don't know
They're
to ask
not
these
skeptical,
questions.
and they are the ones that we're seeing taken advantage of, not necessarily our kind of older generation.
Perhaps the older generation has seen it before and
They've
if
seen
they're
it
like,
before,
wait a minute, this doesn't
and
seem
they're
right.
willing to be a little bit more aggressive and ask questions and get to the heart of, are you really legitimate?
Gotcha. So your advice to the younger people would be ask some questions,
Ask some questions.
learn.
Do your research. Absolutely.
You haven't been doing taxes that long? Learn more about it, right?
Yes.
Come to the Better Business Bureau Tax Resource
And
Center.
just see what's available to you, because there's a lot of different things on there. And while, you know, my husband and I have done our taxes ourselves for years, there's things that happen every single year that are new additions or things that we should look for. And that's a great resource for us even with very basic taxes, just to be aware of what's going on.
You touched on it a little bit with the scams and the myths, but identity theft is a huge deal, right?
It is. And, you know, whenever you're looking at identity theft, obviously it can happen through your taxes, but the other thing is making sure that you check your credit score on a regular basis, looking at that at least annually.
So that could reflect, hey, something fishy's going on.
Right. Or it will give you a red flag if somebody's trying to open a credit card in your name or if they're taking out loans in your name. Those are all things that you should look at. But also if you have children, you should probably look at their credit score as well.
Interesting stuff. We're talking with Kitt Letcher, dropping the knowledge on us on Trust Tuesday from the Better Business Bureau. I mentioned the identity theft because you guys have something coming up after tax season, the Secure Your ID Day.
We do. So identity theft is obviously huge, and one of the great ways that you can protect yourself is by shredding all of your private, personal information. And not everybody has a shredder in their home, so Secure Your ID Day is a service that we provide to the community, and we make shredding happen, if you will.
Well said.
So what's awesome is we have a great partnership with Absolute Data Shredding, and they bring...
Those guys are the best.
They're the best. They bring in huge trucks.
Thank you, Absolute Data Shredding.
They bring in huge trucks. They help you take boxes of material out of your truck that needs to be shredded, and they get rid of it on site. So it actually gets shredded right there so people can see it's happening, and you know they're not carting it off and doing something else with it. They do our shredding at BBB, so they come in every month and they take care of our personal and private information to make sure that we're safe and secure. So Absolute Data Shredding really takes good care of us, and it's a service that we provide because we want people to have the resources to be able to get rid of that information in a safe and secure manner.
You know, I've always heard that's really what you should do is shred. It's also kind of hard to know what paperwork and forms to hang on to and what you can let go of.
Right.
Because next thing you know, you have stacks of papers everywhere.
Yeah, and you know, which one do you keep for 3 years versus 7 years
Sure.
versus a lifetime? And I would say what's really tricky about a lot of that is also what can you get online and keep online, make sure that that's also secure. And you can find all of those resources on our website about what you should be retaining and what you should be shredding on a regular basis. But also it helps you get rid of the clutter in your house.
That's right, sure.
Yeah.
So that event is coming up April 22nd. That is a Saturday. It's at your office in
It's at our
Fulmer, right?
office, yep. And we actually host everything that's in our parking lot on the west side of our building. So it's
Okay.
a really easy, you don't have to get out of your car. If you've got boxes of stuff that you need to get rid of, then you just pop the trunk and we'll have a staff member or Absolute Data Shredding will get the boxes out of your trunk for you. We've got some more information that we give to people as they actually do a drive-through of our parking lot, and off you go.
All right, again, that is Saturday, April 22nd at the Better Business Bureau of Central Oklahoma office, which is in Film Row, California and Dewey from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Will there be a Lady Liberty or an Uncle Sam on hand?
You know, I can't make any guarantees, but we do have some really fantastic interns that might be persuaded. We'll see.
More information can be found on their website at bbb.org/Oklahoma City. Kitt, I've enjoyed it as always. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.